What's up, historians and fellow dorks? Historic Horizon has shaken up the format dramatically with a ton of new decks for us to examine tonight on this power level over 9,000 edition of Mana Rant. But first, I'm your host tonight, Hoshi, and I have recently acquired a new static ability of if your anger triggers while playing Arena, that anger triggers an additional time, which is not a great static ability, I must say. My girlfriend hates it a lot.
I've seen it. I've seen it in action. Yeah, you are definitely... When you get angry with Magic, it's like a whole nother level. It's like you said, I think last week or the week before, you're like, I'm not generally an angry person, but Magic just literally brings out the worst of me.
In Arena especially. And
for sure.
The person that we have talking right now is a person who I'm always joined by, and he has also gained a new static ability, or has he had this static ability all along? He has protection from soap and deodorant. We have DrunkenDork.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. I smell, apparently. I don't know. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, cool. Kind of read between the lines there.
Yeah, you are smart. You're a smart dude.
I know. Yeah.
And also our long lost co-host Apollo is still not here. We think he's still in Air Force boot camp. We think, or is he in Costa Rica smuggling donuts into a fat camp? Maybe.
By fat camp, do you mean his hotel room?
Absolutely. I mean, we don't know what he could be up to. He says he was in Air Force boot camp, but who knows? He could be anywhere.
I mean, I guess instead of hotel room, more accurately, it'd be like under the bridge or something.
Hanging out by some dumpsters.
Yeah, exactly.
He has done that before. That is a real thing.
Yes, it is.
Anyways, thank you for joining us. Who are we? We're a couple of friends / idiots who love Magic and have been playing the game for most of our lives. We are the Mana Dorks, and this is the Mana Rant podcast, where we talk about everything in Magic the Gathering, but mainly focus on the historic format. Our show segments move through the phases of Magic, with our main phase being our main show topics, and they're mainly about historic, where the other phases could be like, about all kinds of crazy stuff. But time hacks, as well as a full breakdown of the episode, will be in the description below. And that is a puppy. And now let's just jump straight into the show and go into our first phase, which is our Untap phase.
Untap.
And Untap is a quick phase where we open some drinks. And Dork, what are you untapping tonight?
So tonight, like last week, I have this right behind me, as you can see, this brand new kegerator here with 3 beer taps. So I already poured myself preemptively a porter, I believe, is one of the kegs.
Nice.
And so that's what I'm going to be drinking for now until I'm done with it, and then who knows? Sky's the limit with me,
That's awesome. So I have a Sazerac tonight.
What's a Sazerac?
So a Sazerac is it's a traditional New Orleans drink. It's like their standard drink. That and like the Hurricane. No, not is it Hurricane? Yeah, I think Hurricane and Sazerac are probably what New Orleans is most famous for. And in honor of them having being hit by a horrible hurricane this last week, I'm drinking in honor of them. And so Sazerac is rye whiskey with absinthe and some simple syrup in there. It's normally with a sugar cube, but I'm not that super fancy. So yeah, that's what I'm drinking tonight. And
Sazerac sounds like, you know, like the bad guy in like Aladdin 2 or something, like one of the offshoot Aladdin movies.
It
like,
does, yeah. It's a very old-timey drink, yeah, because it has absinthe in it, which is like, you know, and it's surprisingly smooth for like, you know, having all that stuff in it. I really like them, yeah. But cool. Anyways, cheers, and cheers to everyone out there. And with that, we will move into our upkeep phase. Upkeep, get ya upkeep. And for Upkeep, we have our Reddit Rant segment, where we look to the internet for people ranting about Magic the Gathering. This week, we will be visiting the MTG Arena subreddit. And so let's hop over there. And so this week, we have kind of a sad poster right now. This is Trickery Charm. And he starts off his post with, anyone having a really bad bout of games lately? I do not know what the deal is, but maybe 16 different decks, some new, some pretty old, some consistently do really well, but lately, no matter what game mode I play or deck I use, I just can't catch a break. Every single deck has lately been mana flooded or screwing me 90% of the time. Every person I go up against is a 90-year-old grandma who runs down the timer every single turn because they need to read what the one creature I could afford to put out does 3 times over. I find myself scooping in the first few turns more than half of my games. I have to mulligan 2 to 3 times every single game. These are decks I've been playing for months with next to no issues, but now it's literally non-stop. What happened and how do I make it stop? What do you think of this post, Drunken?
That was pretty good, dude.
Yeah,
yeah, very dramatic. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know what though? I'm not gonna lie. As of recently, I've been playing a shit ton of Pauper when that was, you know, the midweek madness.
Oh yeah,
called it.
That was great.
And then a lot of Jumpstart before that, and people are so fucking slow in Pauper and Jumpstart.
Yes.
I'm assuming that people are slow in Pauper because, like, maybe it's the first time they've ever played it, and maybe you're playing with newer players because it's easy to craft a Pauper deck, right? It's all commons.
And it's a free event where you get, rares for doing it, too. So, just people, like, standard players will hop into that. For sure. Yeah,
exactly. And I did see a lot of decks that were mostly like standard decks. So I assume that's what it is. This person says it doesn't matter what format they play, right? Is what they said, and it's just happening to them.
Yeah.
I think it's just because things got mixed up recently, and it's gonna happen. So fucking, if you don't want to deal with it, don't fucking play. I don't know what to say.
You know what surprised me about this one was the comments were surprisingly supportive for somebody like, kind of whining about this. And like a lot of people were just like, yeah, man, me too. Just what I do when the game fucks me is I go outside for a while or whatever, or I turn off the client and I come back, or I switch decks or something like that, and then leave. And I got to say, I do the same exact thing. Like, I felt like this dude was like, is this, did I write this while I was drunk or something? Because this happens every once in a while, I think, to everybody that plays. Sometimes it hits harder than others where you're just like, what the fuck is going on today?
It never feels good when you're like losing game after game, and then not only are you losing, but people are they're slow rolling the shit out of you. That does feel bad. That was happening to me with Pauper. Just people going way too slow for me to be patient with them. I just concede because I'd be like, okay, I can't deal with this anymore, whether I was winning or not, because it didn't matter on the ladder, right? Like, it wasn't giving me anything.
Yeah,
or I already got my 15 wins.
Yeah, it's yeah, exactly. You're just like, oh, I'm done. But I mean, I feel like this happens to everybody. So that it seemed like a good Reddit rant for me to go over. He was ranting pretty good, but I was pleasantly surprised by the comments of this one, that people weren't just like being like, oh, get good, sounds like shit bronze tier players say, or whatever. People were like being pretty pretty cool to the dude, being like, hey man, hang in there. Like stuff gets better. Yeah. So that was a nice little twist on a positive Reddit rant there in a kind of way. So that was Reddit rant. If you guys find something like that you think would be fun for us to play on the show, throw it my way. I love reading crazy Reddit posts. So with that, we will move into our draw phase.
Let's draw.
So draw is another quick segment that we have where normally we talk about news. MTG News, brought to you by everybody's most hated big-headed anchor, DrunkenDork. But yeah, we're not going to do that this week. We're going to go back to what we originally did with this phase, which was talk about decks that we have been playing this week, because it's very relevant this week, because me and DrunkenDork have both been playing a ton of Magic this week because, hey, Historic Horizons came out and there's been events and stuff, and man, it's just been awesome. So Drunken, take it away. What have you been playing this week?
So I've really been playing a lot. I'll start it off. I'm not sure, are you playing the videos? So I'll start it off with sweet. I made a few different decks. The first one I think is going to be Slivers. I made a like you I think you made a rainbow sliver deck. I made a green, red, white sliver deck. What's that shard called again?
Naya.
Yeah, I made a Naya deck, and but I have one of the rainbow slivers in there. I'm so good with names. One of the Cascade slivers in there.
Yeah, there you go. The first sliver.
Yeah, the first sliver. Mm-hmm. And the deck is super explosive. Like, oh yeah, it's crazy. Like you could see on the video, it's just I have a million fucking slivers out. Mm-hmm. And like if you have the right slivers out at the right time or the right hand, you could dump like almost your entire deck onto the battlefield by like turn 4. Yeah, and it's just insane. It's a lot of fun. And then another deck I've been playing is Enchantress, and this is my pride and joy. I love it. When we, like a few episodes ago, we were talking about decks we think are going to be relevant and historic. Yeah. I don't necessarily know if this deck is really relevant. I don't run into it that often, but I have run into it. It is a green-white Enchantress control deck, and it draws like nothing else I have ever played before. It's like... Yeah, it looks insane. At the end of a turn, I'm like discarding 5 cards like I have drawn so much. And like that's fine because I don't necessarily, like if I know my opponent, I don't necessarily need all those cards in my hands. There's no recursion in it, so it's kind of that's unfortunate, but yeah, I mean it's just giving me so many options, right? And that's what I really like about it. I only run. It's basically the way the deck works is it's like Solemnity, 9 lives, like your Hoshi's absolute favorite style of deck. Love it, and yeah, basically it works that way when I'm running against creature-based decks. I think the video I have is actually I'm playing against Jeskai Control, and I'm just fucking spanking them. Spanking Jeskai Control. Because that's what it does, you know? In that kind of format, I'm just outdrawing them. I'm outclassing them. And with things like the Grove, this, what is it? What is that card called? Sterling Grove. Sterling Grove, yeah. They can't target anything I own. Yeah. And that's really where that deck shines, is countering and targeting. And I have the creature that allows my spells to not be countered, and that Sterling Grove, which protects all my enchantments. That creature is an enchantment. Yeah. And it's just an incredibly powerful deck. Yeah, it's so satisfying to watch like a full powered Jeskai Control deck like just suffering horribly against like you taking away all of his stuff and him not being able to do anything against you it's incredible to see.
just how powerful this deck is. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's really gratifying. I definitely suggest if you have the wild card,
it's a lot.
Make this deck. Otherwise, maybe not, because it is a lot of wild cards.
It's intense.
Yeah. And then finally, I've been playing a shit ton of Pauper.
Nice.
Mostly that's what I've been playing over the past couple days. Rip Pauper, because it's gone now.
Yeah.
Made a post on Reddit, had to have people post their decks on there, and I got to play some other people's fun idea of decks.
Oh, nice.
And they were also really fun. Someone made a zombie deck that was sweet, dude.
Oh,
I really liked it. Yeah.
I made a really awesome elf deck that is so explosive for Pauper. It was fun.
Yeah, I was running into a lot of elf decks on when I was playing Pauper.
Yeah.
A lot of green decks in general. I don't know, a lot of green and a lot of blue and red decks. I don't know if people had put these decks out on social media or something.
Maybe.
But I saw a lot of similar decks.
Okay. Yeah, I imagine. I mean, I threw my deck, the second I made my deck, I threw it up in our Discord channel, which is, yay, join our Discord. But yeah, I do that with a lot of decks, right? Where, hey, if you don't want to take the time to craft it, here you go. A lot of people don't know what is good in Pauper. I didn't really either. I just sat there and scrutinized a bunch of cards and made it. But I enjoy doing that kind of thing. So some people don't, though, So I don't fault people for net decking or anything. You as we've talked about many times on here, it's part of the game.
Yeah, it's fine. Do you, man.
Yeah.
Not everyone has enough time to fucking do that. And
exactly.
Anyway, the deck I made was Madness, Cycling, and it is fucking powerful. I was owning. It was like when I was playing the Enchantress deck, and I got a lot of it. I recorded a lot of it.
Yeah,
I just
the
win
video's up
game
right now.
Win game after game after game with that deck, because it just it has a lot of removal.
Oh yeah, Bone Shards is insane.
Yeah, so Bone Shards is really good.
Yeah.
It has that creature, I forget, it's some madness card where you can it itself allows you to discard cards, so it will trigger madness abilities on other cards. And then I had this big old fucking beefy 7/6 that I just throw in the bin, and I was running 4 reanimation spells, so I can just constantly reanimate things. And there's just so much card draw, so much cycling. I was outclassing almost every deck I was playing against. It felt really good. It was a really, really powerful deck. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, it seems that way. That's cool, man. Yeah, it sounds like you've been enjoying a lot of Magic this week.
Dude, I think I clocked in for one play session the other day, I clocked in 5 hours I played straight. I haven't played any game that long consecutively in a long fucking time. And, that's just how much I've been enjoying it. The meta's so solid and fresh, and playing so many different decks, and it's kind of unpredictable. It's a wild, wild west, and especially when you're playing something like Pauper, where you just see a lot of different decks and a lot of different deck ideas. It's really cool. I really like where Historic is at right now, where Arena's at.
Pauper was just what surprised me about that deck, or that format the most, was how powerful this version of Pauper was compared to because they've run these Pauper events all throughout Arena's history, and it has felt very clunky before this, and then playing this version of Pauper was oh, this deck is actually pretty legit that I'm playing right now, and that my opponent's deck is pretty legit too. So that was crazy. That just shows the power level of Historic right now, is that Pauper is at that level. So that was cool. Pretty fun, dude. So I have also been playing a ton of Magic this week. I've been playing, I started off with the Sliver deck, of course, and it, like you were saying, you nailed it. It's awesome. My version is a little different than yours, but it's I would say it's tier 2 probably of a deck, just because it's so susceptible to removal. It doesn't have reliable life gain in it. It doesn't have card draw at all in it. I mean, the closest thing that you have is the Realm Walker that allows you to play cards off the top of your deck. But that's it. So it's just lacking just a little bit to be able to really be a deck that you would take to the ladder, I would say, especially with, which is what I thought it was going to be when I was looking at the slivers beforehand. So it's still really fun, and I suggest crafting it if you have the cards. If you love slivers like I do, it's super satisfying to play that deck. I wouldn't take it into ranked unless you are a masochist and you really want to grind that ladder. I
was doing it.
I did too, and you can get wins. Like I said, it's a powerful deck. You can still go off like crazy turn 3, turn 4 with it, but there's a lot stronger stuff out there. And then I was playing the Tempered Steel deck with the Esper Sentinel and the Thought Monitor and stuff, and man, that deck is crazy strong too, but still like kind of feeling like it's lacking a little bit. I had some really good games with that. I think it's pretty good, but then I ran into my new love, and my new love is this Gruul Shamans deck that is just right up my alley in terms of like explosibility and just like the fun monsters playing of Gruul. I think Apollo is really missing out on this right now. He's probably gonna be so mad that I'm talking about Gruul, his baby Gruul. Right? Because like the second I saw this thing come out, first of all, when we were looking at the the spoilers last season, I talked about Harmonic Prodigy and how I thought it was a good card. I was more thinking along the lines of Wizards in red. What I did not see was that Burning Tree Emissary is a shaman, and that there is a bunch of other things that are shamans that are crazy, that have a lot of like ETBs and other abilities. And man, shamans can be insanely explosive. On like turn 3, I've played half my deck before on some crazy turns. So, you're kind of shooting the wild card with it, but man, it's so much fun. If you can afford to craft this Shaman's deck, you should do it, because it's definitely tier 1, I would say. The power the Collected Company is able to throw out, the Harmonic Prodigy being able to double triggers of not just ETBs, of any trigger that a shaman does. And Harmonic Prodigy is not a legendary either, so you can have multiple out, and those doubling of the triggers stacks too. So if you have 3 of them out, it triples your triggers. So this deck it's so nuts, and it's so ridiculous and fun. And it's like nothing else in Arena right now. So I really...
Is it a multiplier? Does it say it doubles the triggers?
So it adds an additional trigger. So if you have 2 of them out, it would triple whatever the thing is, right?
Okay. It'd be dope if it said doubles your triggers, because then it's just like a multiplier.
Oh,
right?
no, yeah. It doesn't multiply, and that would be insane. Yeah, because Elvish Visionary comes down, and that's a shaman that draws you a card. So if you have 2 Harmonic Prodigies out, you would draw 3 cards with that. But same thing with Burning Tree Emissary. You get the pips out of it, so you would get 6 mana out of 1 Burning Tree Emissary, which is crazy. So that's how you're able to like draw half your deck if you have like the Elvish Visionaries and stuff out there. It just boom, 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 boom goes off. So a lot of fun.
Sweet. Yeah, it looks cool.
Super enjoying it. But yeah, so that was draw. That was what we've been playing in Magic this week. Any last words before we move on to main phase?
No.
Cool.
Let's do it.
Let's move into main phase 1.
Main phase 1.
All right, so in main phase 1 this week, we are going to do...
It's Apollo's Wacky Wild Card of the Week in Metagame Showdown.
Yeah, so normally we do this for like a main phase 2 thing, but we're just both of our main phases tonight is going to be talking about all of these crazy new decks that have entered the format and kind of just the new meta that we're dealing with. If you haven't got a chance to play a lot of Historic recently, we are going to catch you up on all the new powerful decks that are in and what we think about them. So first of all, Wacky Wildcard of the Week this week is the most prevalent card in Historic right now in these strong decks. And do you know what that is, Drunken?
I'm gonna say Thoughtseize.
Ooh, no, it's not. It is one of my favorite cards, and the card that you guys thought was gonna be my favorite when it got introduced into Historic, and that is
What's that?
Collected Company. Collected Company is in a ton of decks right now. It's a huge part of getting out a lot of these combo pieces that are in these new decks, and it's just, you know, a solid card that's been in a lot of them. So in all these new decks that have come out, this is the #1 card that has been in all of them. Well, not all of them, in the vast majority of them. So Collected Company, we've mentioned this card obviously before as our like wild card of the week, but this just really goes to like reiterate it again. If you don't have Collected Company yet, this is a safe wild card to craft. It's good in so many decks. So don't feel bad about burning them while it's on some Cocos. So with that, let's go into all of the crazy decks. In main phase 1, we're going to go over 5 different decks so far. These are all very strong decks. We don't have an accurate, I don't think, tier listing out really yet. There's not enough data going around of like what is the top tier deck or whatever. But this is the one that I kind of am feeling is the top tier, and I've been seeing like most people playing at a competitive level, and that is Jeskai Creativity. So I know that if you've been playing on the ladder, you've probably run into this so far. Yeah, it's basically they took Jeskai Control, right? And then they slotted into it Indomitable Creativity, which allows you to, you know, exile a token or creature, or no, it's basically any token, or that you have an artifact or a creature token, you destroy it, and then you just reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an artifact or a creature. And guess what the only creature in your deck is? It's Sarah's Emissary. And Sarah's Emissary is, man, this was a sleeper card that I think really all of us missed, right? When we were talking about these Historic Horizon ones. Because it's a 7-drop angel, which seems, you know, a little pricey for Historic and such a fast deck, but, you know, Jeskai is just so powerful that I think it was able to really make use of this card and to get it out. And there's so many creature decks and creature strategies and all this kind of stuff now. And if you get a Sarah Emissary out, and you also get protection from creatures with it, which is, I think, the thing that I misread on it. You know, like I thought, it was just Sarah that got protection from creatures. No, it's you do too. So if you're facing a creature deck and you get Sarah Emissary out and they don't have a way of dealing with a flying 7/7 angel, you know, they don't have removal for it, you're boned. That's the end of the game. So I think this might possibly be the strongest deck in the meta. What do you think, Drunken?
I don't know about that, but it's definitely a strong deck. It has some weak matchups, I feel like. Okay. Because Sarah's Emissary, at the end of the day, it still fucking dies to mass removal.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so I think, like, when you're playing against control decks, I think this isn't as strong. But it's still a strong deck, and the meta is really creature heavy, you know, especially if you're saying something like Collected Company is the top played card in the new meta, then sure, then this is going to be a solid deck. It's a lot of fucking rares and shit, though.
There's a lot of different versions, like, you know, of it too than the one.
I've run into a couple different ones. Like the other one, what's that one you like where you sacrifice a creature and it just goes through your library and puts out
it's the Indomitable Creativity does that, but it's also the there's the other one. I feel like
whatever it's called. Everyone knows what we're talking about. I've run into that versions of the Creativity deck, and it's the same thing. It's getting out Sarah's Emissary. I've also run into other ones where they're running Sarah's Emissary and Ulamog, and Ulamog's always a good pick, right? I think it's cool. Nice. I like it. It just seems like these type of decks are boring to me because they always play out about the same way.
It's basically Jeskai Control with like one trick that they added to it, you know? So I feel you on that. I was not excited to craft that deck when I saw it come out and I played against it. I was like, oh, that's strong, but not my flavor of Magic that I enjoy playing, you know? So let's move on to the next one. We got Selesnya, Heliod, Suncrowned, Scurry Oak combo. Have you run into this, DrunkenDork?
so many fucking times.
All right, well, take it away. What is this deck doing, man?
I mean, it's basically just fucking putting counters on shit and winning the goddamn game. That's what it's doing. It's a really powerful deck. I think, arguably, this deck is better.
Yeah.
Just because it goes off so easily, and you don't necessarily need Heliod.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I really like it. This also runs Coco, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's a key piece in being able to get out Heliod and Scurry Oak or like whatever you're missing, right? Because it's a 3-piece combo, basically. You need the Life Gainer, the Scurry Oak, and Heliod, and then you go infinite, basically, at that point. But there's also really good control elements in this deck too, with like Elite Spellbender and Skyclave Apparition and stuff. So yeah, this thing, it's solid. It's a solid deck.
Yeah, green white always has like, they have those really good key pieces in it, like, you know, like you said, those utility pieces that kind of like tax your opponents, right? Like green white hate bears is a thing, and it kind of accomplishes that in a way.
Yeah,
and
it's not as strong as a pure hate deck, obviously, but it has some of those elements in there.
Yeah, and the Esper Sentinel is just so fucking good, dude.
Yeah,
I've been running into Esper Sentinel a lot, and it's really impactful.
Oh man,
I think depending on what deck you're playing against, and like, you know, if a lot of people are playing the Sarah's Emissary decks, then the Esper Sentinel works real good against those decks.
Oh,
for the
absolutely.
time, you know, until they get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, but they prioritize getting rid of it too, because you can tell the second they see that card on the field, they just start reading it. They're like, oh no, like, how do I get rid of this thing, right? It's just so annoying for anybody that plays spells. So this deck, I think this is definitely a tier 1 deck in the format.
For sure.
All right, well, let's move on to our next deck, which I think you should take it away with this one again, because this is right up your alley. This is a Rakdos Madness kind of mid-range deck, I guess I'd call it. It's kind of aggro, but it's doing a lot of dirtly stuff as well. So yeah, take it away, Drunken.
Okay, this deck is the one from that guy in the historic Reddit, right? He posted this one.
I think so. Yeah,
I've
run into
so.
this. Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't get any recordings, but I also, you know, a couple episodes ago, I made a Rakdos Madness deck, and I said it's going to be good in the meta. Yeah, and I think it is. Like, I don't run into it that often, but when I do, yeah, it's impressive. It's a good deck, and like, it has been very successful for me. I like this one a lot. It, like mine, is very aggressive. And this gave me the idea. Bombat Courier, I think, works so good in this deck because you're constantly just discarding your hands. So having the Bombat Courier is great. And Blazing Rootwalla, I've been beating the shit out of by that card. It's incredibly powerful. Oh, yeah. And then, yeah, I don't know. I really like it. It's a fun deck. It's a complicated deck to play.
It is.
Like where most aggro decks, I think all aggro decks can be pretty complicated, but this one, especially because you're discarding stuff and you have to kind of figure out what you need to discard in certain situations, because not everything has madness, you know?
Yeah.
It's easy when you have the madness card and the mana to pay for it, but it's not necessarily when you don't. So, yeah, I really like this a lot.
Yeah, I think the piloting skill level of this deck is a lot higher than most. Because, yeah, like you were saying, you have to think about what you're discarding. Do you have the mana to pay for the madness cost of it? Like, what are you going to get out of it? But the upside of all of that is the tremendous amount of value of doing that. Because, you know, if you're discarding something and then being able to use it while you discard it, dude, that's just awesome, right? That makes Faithless Looting and all that stuff so good, just incredibly good. And I've been totally torn apart by this deck when they've been able to utilize their madness properly like that. Yeah, you just can't deal with it because it's just taking away everything, and everything that's basically playing is either free or, you know, 1 mana at that point, and they're drawing cards while they're being able to dish these things out. So this deck is another one of those ones that I feel like is bonkers, man. So cool. Any last things about Rakdos?
Nope.
Sweet. All right, so our next very crazy deck that is popped up in the meta was one that people were talking about before the set dropped, and hey, They were right. It is a crazy combo, and that is the Davriel's Withering combo. Now, there's a couple ways to get this combo off, but the main one that people immediately pinpointed was Vesperlark, which is an elemental that is able to come back. Once it dies, you can return something for one that has power 1 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield, and it's a 2/1. But if you hit it with Davriel's Withering, it becomes a 1, like -1 basically, which means you can return it, and it's perpetual. So that new crazy perpetual like mechanic that we got just comes into play. So basically, it's infinite ETBs. So this will do two things. It will either stall out the game because it's just going to just sit there and do that forever, or if you have something like Blood Artist or Cruel Celebrant or something like that in play, then you are able to ping your opponent to death. And so Davriel Soulbroker, the actual Planeswalker, he also has an ability that does this too, which is target creature perpetually gets -3/-3. So he's another way of getting this combo. And I've seen a couple of versions of this where they're using the oh no, it wasn't of this. There's another deck that's similar to this. I just don't think it's as consistent. And guess what this deck is also running?
What?
Collected Company. Most of the time, this deck is running Collected Company. There are other ones that run like Fauna Shaman and stuff like that. I think this one's running Fauna Shaman that we're looking at, but it also runs Collected Company, and I think it's crazy powerful, right? Like I've lost to this deck quite a few times, and it's an absolute win. The second that they cast that Davriel's Withering on Vesperlark, you're like, oh, all right, well, concede. You got it.
Yeah,
right?
It's. I think out of all the decks, maybe the Heliod or this one. I said Heliod, but also this one I've been playing against a lot in best of one. I think this deck is annoying, and I hope there's nobody like on the other side playing this deck being like, why do people keep conceding? I just want to get the win, because like
Wallace just doing the ping ping. Yeah. Oh no, absolutely concede to that. Save all of our times from having to watch that.
I think it's really powerful though. It is a 2-card combo, which is always good.
Well, kind of 3, right? Because if you just do 2, you're not accomplishing
you're
anything.
Right. 3-card combo.
You need the ping.
Yeah, you're right. I've definitely beat it a few times. And it's actually because of this deck and my Enchantress deck. I put in 2 Rest in Peace in the main board.
Oh, nice. You should. In this meta.
Because that basically just destroys the combo.
Yeah.
And the moment you play Rest in Peace against this deck, they concede.
Yeah.
Because there's it really just relies on the one thing, and it's really hard for them to win otherwise.
Which is a total weakness of the deck.
Absolutely.
Is being able to be destroyed by one card like that is pretty brutal. But running main board Graveyard Disruption is always tricky to do, especially in best of one. Right, like that's why probably people aren't seeing this in best of 3. I think as much because you can slot in a bunch of graveyard hate for that. But I think this is not my jam. Doing like comboing, just getting a combo and then killing somebody. It's probably fun for like a little while. I couldn't see me like grinding the ladder with this deck though. It would drive me insane. Any last thoughts on this one?
Nope.
Cool. All right, the last one that we're going over is the deck that I was just talking about, which is the Shaman's deck. So let's take a quick look at this. This is my version of it, where I'm running 2 Faithless Ludians, 2 Llanowar, or 3 Llanowar, sorry, 4 Burning Tree Emissaries, 4 Elvish Visionaries, and then this card is crazy. This new Goblin Archaeomancer, which reduces the cost of blue or green, red or green spells by 1. And he reduces Collected Company, everything. That card is crazy. I'm surprised it's an uncommon. And then the main part of this deck is the Harmonic Prodigy, right? The deck is still good without that card, but that's the main thing that makes this deck go absolutely insane. And then we have Collected Company to get that, right? Because, of course, Collected Companies and everything, like I was saying. And then we have Rage Forger. Rage Forger, have you seen this one yet, Drunken? This is an insane elemental.
Yeah, I know what it is. Yeah.
Okay, great. So when it comes in, you get to put a 1/1 counter on every other shaman you control. So that gets doubled by Harmonic Prodigy. And then whenever you attack with a 1/1, a creature that you control with a 1/1 counter on it attacks, it triggers it to deal 1 damage to target player, and you can also do this to planeswalkers as well, and it doubles those triggers as well. So this card is absolutely a must include if you're doing this deck. I threw some Stormcaller Ogres in there, which are just fun to like ping your opponent in the face with. And then of course we have Escape into the Wilds. I'm running 2 of those. Some decks I've seen run 4. I feel like that's too many. Same thing with Embercleave. I'm running 2 of those. I feel like 4 is too many because you're losing out on a lot of the like creatures that make this deck strong. And that's also why I went down to 2 Faithless Ludians, because you're relying on Collected Company in this deck. So this is my version of it. There's a lot of them out there, but like I already talked about it. This deck's insane. I think it's a lot of fun. Anything else, Drunken, before we go into combat?
I don't know why you put this one in, because I have not played against it once. I have not seen it in the meta at all.
Really? There's videos out there.
Yeah, I haven't seen it a single time. But
I love it.
I think you just want to do this. You want to be like, yeah, Hoshi. There you go.
I was right. All right, we're gonna have to do a battle of the decks after that. All right, so with that, we will move into our combat phase.
Dorkish combat.
All right, and our combat is our horseshit card game. Take it away, Drunken.
All right, everybody. This is the horseshit card game. This is a game where I name 5 cards that are, well, 4 of them are from Historic, 1 of them isn't, and it's up to this drunken idiot to figure out which one of those cards is not from Historic. I think I did a good job this week. I think I'm gonna get it.
Oh yeah,
like I'm pretty confident.
Okay.
And of course, y'all play along. Leave in the comments what you think is not in Historic. Don't cheat. And are you ready, Hoshi?
I'm ready. Let's do it, dude.
Okay. The first one is Mad Prophet. It is 3 in a red for creature, human, shaman. You may know this one.
Okay.
It says tap, discard a card, draw a card.
Okay.
And it is a 2/2.
All right.
The next one is Angrath's Fury. It is 3 black-red for a sorcery. It says destroy target creature. Angrath's Fury deals 3 damage to target player. You may search your library and or graveyard for a card named Angrath, Minotaur Pirate, reveal it, and put it into your hand. If you search your library this way, shuffle it.
Okay.
The third one is Fateful Showdown. It is 2 in a red for an instant. It says Fateful Showdown deals damage to target creature or player equal to the number of cards in your hand. Discard all cards in your hand, then draw that many cards. The fourth one is Release the Gremlins. It is XX red for a sorcery. It says destroy X target artifacts. Create X 2/2 red gremlin creature tokens.
Nice.
The fifth one is Devil's Play. It is X and a red. Devil's Play deals X damage to any target. And it has Flashback. X red, red, red. All right, Hoshi. Those are your 5 cards. What do you think, dude?
Red theme this week. Okay. So
yeah, it's all red.
So I'm leaning towards the Mad Prophet because, I mean, the face on that guy. I feel like in Arena, you know, I would maybe see that face. Angrath's Wrathpage, I'm pretty sure, is like a Planeswalker card because that's like that mechanic from the Planeswalker deck thing. So I think he's probably in there. Pretty sure Faithful Showdown is. And then Release the Gremlins. I think I've seen that, and I'm pretty sure I've seen Devil's Play. So I'm going with the Mad Prophet.
Mad Prophet. All right, buddy.
Final answer.
I am finally right. I finally won.
Oh, what are you kidding? Serious, dude? No way.
Yeah. Mad Prophet's a new card. It's an uncommon from Modern Horizons too, but the Historic Horizons or whatever.
Yeah.
And so the card this week is Release the Gremlins.
Oh.
It's from Aether Revolt, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. It's got that whole like steampunk, thing going with it.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know Gremlins were a thing in Aether Revolt. I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
And it was just never released in the Kaladesh remastered set. So
okay,
that is the card.
Nice, dude. Congratulations, man. Congratulations.
I know. I got one. I feel like fucking Apollo at this week. I mean, at this game.
Yeah, dude. You've been getting
I've been getting demolished, dude. My back has been getting beat in.
So let's take a quick look at the stats from Reddit last week when I threw it up there. We had 130 people vote on it, and 55 of them picked the stag. So yeah, most people knew. Last week. But 37 picked Battering Crisis and 22 Amorphous Axe, and so there was still quite a few people that the vast majority of them got it wrong last week. So, on Reddit you still won last week. However, here you lost. Yeah. But
that's what really counts.
That is what really counts. But yeah, I mean, congratulations, man. You needed this. I feel like, we're gonna have to call you like a drunk Olo or something. Something like that. All right. Anyways, that was the horseshit card game. How'd you guys do? Did you lose like me? Holy shit, I lost. I haven't lost in a while.
Finally. Jeez, man.
This sucks, dude.
You're on a long roll.
Boo. Yeah. Boo. I don't like losing. Anyways, with that sour taste in my mouth, let's go to main phase 2.
Main phase 2.
All right. So main phase 2 this week, we're going to just keep going on these meta decks that had just popped up. So the next one that we got is going to be the Paradox combo. Drunken, have you seen or run into this combo yet?
No, I haven't. At least not in the new meta. I haven't.
Okay.
Have you?
No, I have not run into it. I did watch a video on the MTG original decks guy playing this one, and I will tell you right now, if you're thinking about crafting this one, unless you like playing the most dirtily deck you can possibly imagine, do not craft this thing. It is a slog to kill your opponent because basically it's the Paradox Engine combo combined with Tome of the Infinite. And so with Tome of the Infinite, you just you untap it, and then you pull one of those like conjure cards out, and then when you cast that conjure card, it untaps everything, and you just keep doing that until you lightning bolt basically your opponent to death and like remove all of his other stuff. It seems ridiculous. This one is a little bit different of a combo that I'm looking at, so I think it has a couple other ways maybe to win. It's got Karn in there and Tameo and some other stuff, but yikes. This is not. Yeah. This seems like way too much clicking for me.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. Gotta get good with those hotkeys.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, then with that, we'll just move on right to the next one, which is going to be Mono Red Madness, which is similar to the Rakdos one. Drunken, what about this? Have you run into this?
Yeah, many times. This is a super popular deck on the meta.
Absolutely.
And it's really good. I think if you're gonna craft a deck, this seems like a great one to craft. I don't think it has a whole lot of wild cards in it either. Like there definitely are of its fair share, but
I think it's
it's super good, and it's interchangeable between mono red and blue red, and and that's what I like about it is you could play either version of it and it's going to be pretty solid. So if you have some blue red lands, you can add blue in there, which gives you a little bit more card draw, and it kind of it reduces the madness a little bit, but I think it becomes a little bit more of a consistent deck. I will say though, having played this many times, my Black-Red Madness does very well against this.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah, just because I forget what the dinosaur is, that 3-mana black dinosaur.
Yeah.
That makes you discard a card at the beginning of your upkeep.
Regisaur or something, yeah. Rotting
yeah,
Regisaur.
It's just out of reach with this deck. Because they have a deal 5 damage, right? But the Regisaur is a 7/6, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
And so, it's just out of reach. So if they want to get rid of it, they have to 2-for-1 you know, and I'm fine with that. If you want to 2-for-1 any of my creatures, that's always good because that's 2 less cards you have in your hand.
Yeah.
What do you think of this?
I think it's crazy. I've gone up against it many times. I feel like it's a very powerful, but I'm usually able to squeak out a win against this one. It has a lot of creature removal, but I feel like it doesn't do a lot of face damage most of the time. So I've definitely had to, try hard to beat this deck. But I usually end up like squeaking through with a victory against it. So, but once again, this is a like basically a budget historic deck, at this point, a budget like competitive one. Right now in historic, I was looking at all the new decks. This is, I believe, the lowest rarity cost, and which is around like 20 rares or something. So pretty rare as far as also the shaman deck that I made. That one's also around like 24 or something like that. So that's for a budget historic deck. Now we already know that this is kind of an expensive format, but mono red is always kind of budget friendly.
Well, yeah, and the good thing about this deck is if you're going to spend the money on the rares, you don't need the bugbear dens or whatever they're called.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of the other rares that you're going to get in it are going to be used in a lot of other decks. So that's always nice about building a deck, is if you're going to spend the wild cards, you want to make sure, we've talked about this before, that the wild cards are usable in other things, like that combo deck that we were talking about earlier where you sack a creature, you destroy an artifact or a creature or whatever.
Yeah.
Creativity. That's not going to be used in anything else, besides those creativity style decks. So that card's basically useless besides that one. So you're just building a bunch of rares and shit for nothing.
The only one that I would say is not really like that usable in this one is the hollowed one, which is the artifact golem. That's probably the only one that I'd be like, I don't want to craft this. But all the other ones, Faithless Looting, the Bombat Couriers, all that stuff is gold. Like those are going to be usable in so many different decks. So
absolutely,
the hollowed one's going to suck. But all right, let's move on to the next one, which is going to be Merfolk. Hey, Merfolk are back. Have you run into Merfolk yet, DrunkenDork?
Fucking destroy him.
Oh, really?
I don't think I've been beat by Merfolk yet. Playing any deck. Just because one of my decks is a bunch of removal, and the other one is enchantment control, and so it just it fucking it outclasses this deck. But it looks fun. It looks like this is a very viable, very good deck against certain like creature based strategies.
The thing that I think is wrong with it, or that this deck is lacking, is any type of ramp. Which is really why it's suffering. They have no way of cheating mana. No way of like pumping things up. So the Merfolk themselves are incredibly powerful. I think all of them have really good abilities, and I have lost to this deck, but like you were saying, I've also easily destroyed it, and I just feel like it is kind of slow. They can get up to Collected Company and then do some pretty crazy things. So I still feel like it's powerful, but I think it's like a tier 2 deck in the meta, and it's a lot of rares to get that tier 2 deck. But the new cards that it got are sweet. The Master, the Pearl Trident, and the God and stuff that it got are pretty awesome. But I'm not convinced on Merfolk, unfortunately. I mean, if you love Merfolk though, hey man, it's still pretty strong, I'd say. So next, let's go into your deck. I mean, you already kind of talked about your deck, but this is, like you were saying, is crazy. Like you've never run into the Shaman's deck, which I have run into quite a bit. I have never run into the Enchantment Control deck.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I've run into it a few times. Not a lot, but I've definitely run into it.
Isn't that funny? Times. You run into whatever you play, kind of, I feel like. So I've never run into it. Yeah.
I think I've only run into it once when I've been playing Enchantment Control, but I've run into it quite a few times playing my black-red Rakdos.
Yeah.
Madness, and I've run into it once playing Slivers. And yeah, basically, I talked about this mostly. It's a super powerful deck. It's really good against creature-based decks, which is really popular in the meta right now.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, it's a Solemnity 9 lives combo in a way. And it's weird because I only run 2 and 2 of both.
Yeah.
But the way it works is Sterling Grove searches out an enchantment. So having 4 Sterling Groves in your deck is basically like having an extra 4 of 9 lives or Solemnity. The good thing about 9 lives is it protects itself. It has hexproof. Solemnity doesn't. So a lot of the creature-based decks you were talking about so far, they don't have ways to get rid of enchantments. The one being the white creature that comes in and exiles a 4 converted. That gets rid of enchantments.
Skyclave Apparition, yeah.
So you have to play carefully against that deck when you are searching out your Sterling Grove or searching from your Sterling Grove. But besides that, I just think I think this deck runs really good. I've had a lot of success with it.
The Sterling Grove card that he's talking about is a brand new one that came from Jumpstart. If you have not seen it yet, because it's incredibly hard to get from Jumpstart, at least. I've only gotten one so far. But if you have 2 of them out, everything is hexproof. So it says other enchantments you control have Shroud. So it does not. But it's not legendary. So if you have 2 of them on the battlefield at the same time, literally all your enchantments have Shroud at that point. And if someone is able to actually target it, you can sacrifice it at instant speed to search your library for an enchantment. So it's a very, very good card, I think. I really like this deck. I want to craft it. However, I checked and I am 11 rares short of crafting it, which is out of my range a little bit at this current moment.
Yeah.
But man, it looks pretty sweet, man. So with that, let's move to the next. Do you have anything else to talk about this one?
Nope.
Okay, cool. So the next one is going to be voted my most hated new deck to come out of this meta, which is the Tibalt Cascade combo. Tibalt's Trickery, you guys are probably aware of. It's basically a meme deck, but it's super annoying. We've talked about it on the show multiple times because we've talked about how it's not really a magic card. You're basically watching your opponent pull a slot machine and watching if they hit Ulamog or Ugin on turn 2 or concede, right? It's not really playing a game against an opponent in any way. Now it's more consistent because they got Theories of Chaos, or Theros, is it Thros of Chaos?
I can't see it,
okay.
But yeah, you're on the right path.
Anyways, it's a Cascade card. It's a 4-cost card. And if you don't know what Cascade is, it means that it will just reveal cards from the top of the deck until it reveals a card that is less mana than that card. Guess what the only card that's less mana than it is in the deck? Tibalt's Trickery. And what they do is they counter the Theros of Chaos. So once Tibalt Trickery comes in, while that's still on the stack, it counters the Theros or Theories of Chaos or whatever it's called, and then it gets to cast Tibalt's Trickery, right? So the problem with Tibalt's Trickery before was that you had to have so many of those 0-costing cards in the deck. They don't have any of those. So the chance of hitting Genesis Ultimatum, Magnum Opus, Ugin, Ulamog, or Sarah's Embassy is super high in this deck. So the consistency in this deck is through the roof. And it has Retrace. So they can play it again the next turn if they discard a land card. And then do it again, and do it again, and do it again until they're out of Tibalt's Trickeries. And basically, if you are able to deal with the initial threat that they have come down, which was a problem with Tibalt's Trickery, like the initial version of it, like if you could deal with their Ugin immediately, then they were boned. But it doesn't matter in this version of it because they can just discard a land and do it again the next turn, and then they can do it the next turn after that and get another insane threat. The worst thing that they can do is actually hit Tybalt's Trickery with it, which is super rare in this one. That's some terrible luck if they hit it. So what's your opinions on this one, Drunken?
Yeah, it's really strong. My enchantment deck I was talking about last, the last deck, it actually runs incredibly poorly against Ugin. I haven't played against Tybalt's Trickery or this new Tybalt's Trickery deck where they got a Ugin out on me yet. It's only been Ulamogs and Sarah's Emissary or whatever. But yeah, Ugin just destroys that deck. And yeah, it's powerful. It's annoying. The one thing that's nice is it feels more like Magic when you're playing it now, because instead of turn 2, I'm going to Tybalt's Trickery and I either hit it or whiff and then I concede.
Yeah.
You know,
you're playing a little bit longer.
You're actually... Yeah, you're actually playing a little bit of a game. So I like it for that reason, and but I'm not a big fan against it, against playing it. I mean, in reality, it's no different than playing, say, like a Reanimator style deck, because basically you're trying to do the same thing, right? Like get a big ass creature out on turn 4 or something like that.
Yeah.
The only difference is you're really rolling the dice on this. You're like, okay, what am I gonna get?
So they can do it turn 3, and they're also running Radiant Fountains in their deck, so they can gain life so that they don't die. But they're running Magnum Opus in the deck, so that they can discard it, right, and create a treasure token. So they have ramp in this deck too. So
yeah, that's true.
So turn 3 is pretty consistent with this deck.
Yeah, I played against it a bunch. I forgot about the Magnum Opus.
The other difference was with the other Tybalt's Trickery version, they needed to have 2 cards in their hand to be able to get it off. They don't need 2 anymore. They can just use the London Mulligan to get that 1 card now. So it's far more consistent and stable than the old version was. So I know a ton of people are pissed off about this. I've been seeing a crazy amount of hate on the internet, and I agree. I don't like Tybalt's I never liked Tybalt's Trickery. So if they ban it, hallelujah. So yeah. Anyways, that's all.
You know what works really good against this deck?
What's that?
Containment Priest. I have been on the fucking Containment Priest bandwagon forever.
Oh, it's a great card.
It's such a good card, and it destroys this deck. And like before this set came out, I was playing green white Hate Bears, and I mainboarded Containment Priest. I loved it when people would play Tybalt's Trickery. I mean, it'd be like
Sarah's Emissary too. Sarah's Emissary too, right? If you're running the creativity combo where you pull it out of the deck, doesn't work, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So. Awesome. That's a good hot take there. All right, and let's look at our last deck here, which is Hardened Scales, which is a deck that's very powerful and modern from what I've heard. I have not played it or played against it in that. What do you think about Hardened Scales?
I haven't gone against this. I have gone against it. I have not seen Hardened Scales once.
Oh, okay.
But I have played against this deck. Yeah, it's basically just whatever that creature... we've run into this before. This has been a deck that's been around. It's always been tier 2 or 2.5 or whatever.
The Conclave Mentor that doubles the amount of combo.
So we've all seen this, I'm sure. But now you have Hardened Scales, which is just another piece to pump your creatures up. It still just seems bad against control decks to me. Because at the end of the day, they're just fucking creatures with +1/+1 counters, unless you can beat them by turn 4, which is possible. Which is doable, but you just need the right hand for that. So to me, this still seems like maybe a 1.5 now instead of a 2.0 or 2.5.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. This deck is susceptible to a lot of different kinds of losses, but at the same time, it's crazy explosive. Where you can just get giant beaters and kill you can kill a control deck really quick if they don't have their removal for these things. And I've died to this deck recently, where they've had 2 Hardened Scales out, and then just one turn, boom, 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 the thing is like a 9/9 and just fucking crushed me. So it's really cool. I like the deck, but I totally agree with what you're saying that it's a glass cannon and it can get dismantled very easily. And the one thing that I'm noticing from looking at this set list is no collected company. What the fuck? That belongs in this deck. I feel like
absolutely, because there's nothing with converted mana cost higher than 2, I think.
Right?
So.
Yeah, there isn't. I don't know what the person that made this deck is smoking, but they need to get on that Coco train.
If you can play Coco, it's in your colors, and it works. Like, you have you're mostly creature based. Fucking play it.
Dude.
What are you doing with your life?
Right?
You know,
it's crazy.
Missing out on opportunity and shit.
It's crazy. All right, so that was main phase 2. Any last words, Drunken?
No, all the decks look sweet. I hope everyone's having fun with them. If you haven't played them yet and you have the cards, fucking do it.
Hell yeah. All right, let's go into our end step.
That's good.
Never gets old.
No.
So end step is kind of like one of our extra phases where we talk about things that we've been doing outside of Magic, or stories, biographies, whatever. It's kind of a free form. Do you have anything for end step, Drunken?
I think we're going a little long. Let's end this.
Okay, cool. All right, so this is also the phase that we skip most of the time. So we'll go into cleanup.
It's true.
Cleanup.
All right, so cleanup is our social media promo phase. So we have a Discord that's super awesome with really good people on there. We have our YouTube channel, which is awesome. We put a lot of effort into our actual YouTube show. We are on Spotify, iTunes, basically anywhere that you can find us. And we do this live on Twitch every week. And sometimes the times change a little bit. Sometimes it's almost every Thursday though, but it's generally between like 8 or 10ish or so. We post the schedule when we know it. So check us out live if you can. It's pretty fun. You can play the card game with us and all that stuff. That's pretty much it. If you're enjoying our content, we'd appreciate a like or subscribe because we don't make any money off this. It'd be nice, a comment. Give us a comment. Let us know. Hey, are
absolutely.
you playing any of these new decks or any of that stuff that we're talking about? So that's it. Anything else, Drunken, for cleanup?
Nope. Join our Discord.
Yeah, join the Discord. It's super fun. I really, if you want to talk to us, we're on there all the time, responding to stuff, and we put our deck list and all that kind of stuff on there. So with that, we will go to the last phase of our show, which is the discard phase.
Discard phase. Drink 'em up, boys.
And discard phase is where we pound our drinks that we've been drinking. And I already finished my Sazerac, and I wasn't going to pound that to begin with. So
that's fair.
Yeah, I got a kombucha. You got a little bit of your porter left. So I enjoyed the show. I enjoyed talking about the meta a lot. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. And we will see you again next week right here on Mana Rant.
See you, everyone.
Cheers, everybody.